It was the morning of September 15, 2021. Muhammad al-Kindi was standing on the cliff of a great enigma. He and his expedition team were in the middle of the desert in the eastern region of Sasoi, Yemen. The place was desolate, far from the city and without any main roads. As the sun rose, they looked down into a giant pit, with a surface width of about 40 meters and extending to an undetermined depth. Because no one in history had ever conquered it, it was a deep hole harboring many secrets that needed to be unraveled. This pit was called the Well of Hell, the sinkhole. Al-Kindi and his team were preparing for a historic attempt to become the first to leave footprints at the bottom of the well. Very early on, many local people had gathered here, not because they were curious about Al-Kindi's expedition, but they came to stop him. Even as Al-Kindi and the team prepared their equipment for the expedition, some locals came to beg them not to proceed, because they knew well how dangerous and terrifying this place was. The deep hole was so frightening that the locals named it the Well of Hell, the name that said it all. The legends surrounding this area were not something to be taken lightly. According to the locals, the Well of Hell was a place of unexplained disappearances, where many people had vanished without a trace. Many believed that objects approaching the well could be sucked deep inside into another dimension. And they often mentioned the true story of a shepherd. The story goes that, during a trip with his 6-year-old son, when he got close to the sinkhole, he set up camp to rest and let his child play in the area. But after just a few minutes of inattention, he could no longer see the child. Strangely, there were no traces on the sand around the Well of Hell. Moreover, many reported seeing strange animals around the well, including winged creatures that looked very frightening. They were much larger than humans. Others have recorded an almost unbearable foul odor emanating from the well. Even, some people said that they had heard strange voices and screams from deep below the bottom of the well. But perhaps what frightened people the most at this moment was witnessing Al-Kindi and his team preparing to descend deep into the bottom of the well. This reminded them of a horrifying event in the past. At that time, there was a man who had tried to conquer the bottom of the well, just like Al-Kindi was doing, and they had witnessed terrible things happen to him. According to the locals' account, the region was suffering from a severe drought at that time. The people decided to tie a rope around the man and lower him to the bottom of the well to find water. Just a few minutes after descending, the man suddenly screamed in pain, causing the support team on the surface to immediately pull him up. The horror was that they discovered his body was only half there. His lower half had disappeared, and that young man did not survive to tell what happened below. Through the heartbreaking incident above, it's no wonder that the people here pled for food from ants and advised his group not to attempt to go down the well. Additionally, some stories in religious scriptures also mention this hellish well. First, the Prophet Muhammad spoke of the hellish well as follows: "The worst water on earth is the water in the well of Ba'u in Hadmarat. It emits the foul stench of hell. It flows in the morning and dries up in the evening." In fact, a man named Ahmad Hassan Muhammad Oman proved the words of the Prophet Muhammad to be true. He was a military officer who had to perform compulsory military service in this area. According to his description, there was an ordinary well dug to supply water to the military zone. But when the pump started operating to draw water for the first time, a black liquid gushed from the well like tar, with an unpleasant stench, a foul-smelling substance like rotten eggs. I felt nauseous because the smell was too overpowering. No one could use the water for at least 12 hours, due to a stench and the black residue clinging to the walls of the pond where water was drawn. However, I swear that I couldn't sleep because of the smell on my clothes and body after washing with that water. It is certain that this well is connected to the same water source that supplies the Ahad well and shares similar characteristics. In the 13th century, a Muslim traveler and historian named Ibn al-Mazawi also investigated the origin of the Ahad well. He believed that its construction was the idea of the famous King Sadat, who ruled the Arabian Peninsula in the period after Noah's flood. For Muslims, Sadat is remembered as a tyrant. He was the one who built many great structures to demonstrate his power. Among them is the legendary city of Iran, which many believe remains buried under desert sands to this day. The desert Atlantis. I have a dedicated video about this mysterious city. If you're curious, go to the channel and watch that video. It is truly very mystical. Continuing with the story, Sadat came to eastern Yemen during the expansion of his kingdom and found the natural conditions here very harsh, making it difficult to find water sources. Therefore, he ordered his captive soldiers under his command built a separate system in a large channel to solve the water shortage problem. But later, for some special reason, Sadat used this system as a prison to detain prisoners of war. This was no different from burying them alive. Therefore, people called it the private hell. To this day, locals still describe it as a place where wronged souls wail on cold nights, implying that the screams and voices often heard from the private area belonged to prisoners who died here. For many centuries, stories about the horrors of the private hell have been passed down orally and appear in religious texts, even historical documents. I am truly curious and eager to know what results Muhammad al-Qadi's expedition will bring. But first, let's explore another interesting piece of information. That is, al-Qadi and his team are not the first modern group to attempt to explore the depth of the private area. In 2013, the UAE newspaper Al Bayan published an article recounting the company's direct survey of the private hell, named DZ Line. According to the article, an employee was attached to a crane and lowered into the private area along with a video camera. When descending about 100 meters, the employee began screaming and was quickly brought back to the surface. He claimed that, while descending, the shape of the surrounding wall began to change and gradually closed in on him. His colleagues thought he suffered from claustrophobia and thus imagined illusions, and moved on to the stage of reviewing the footage. Although there was enough light shining from the surface to capture good footage, the video camera only recorded blackness. This type of equipment malfunction is not uncommon around this private area. Additionally, 2 years ago, when Keen and his team made their attempt, a local YouTube channel named HRNUT proposed a brilliant idea that if there is always a problem whenever a person is lowered into the private area, then why don't we use a drone? No pilot to go in and explore? This idea sounds quite reasonable. But let's see what the results of this exploration are. The results of this effort were dramatically demonstrated in the video published on their YouTube channel. At first, the drone descended normally, and the scene inside the cave began to be noticed. But shortly after, the drone suddenly stopped, followed by erratic movements. I really couldn't control it. It stopped, then moved sideways. It went vertically and suddenly crashed into the wall. You could hardly lift it up anymore. When the operator tried to recover the drone, he discovered that its camera had frozen just a few seconds after descending, and now it was completely broken. Next, things became more intriguing when they heard strange noises coming from the cave, hearing moans, howls. According to the host's words, honestly, we heard some sounds. Scary sounds, wind sounds, sounds of something strange. The video ends with the men hastily retreating, and the host declaring, "Honestly, anyone who comes here will feel scared. I don't think anyone would gain any other benefit, except just looking and leaving in fear." Could something terrible similar to these stories happen to Ankin D and his team? Another interesting point is that not long before Ankindi's expedition, Yemeni officials seem to have warned about the dangers in their exploration. The director of the Regional Geological and Mineral Resources Agency, Salah, responded to an interview in which he spoke skeptically. "It's very deep, because it has very little oxygen and no ventilation system at all. We went to explore this area and went about 50 to 60 meters deep into the cave. We noticed strange things inside. We also smelled strange odors. It was a mysterious situation." In other words, Baha'i seemed to be informing Ankindi and his team that they had tried to reach the bottom of the cave but failed, and if things don't go smoothly for them, the local authorities will not be held responsible before any adverse consequences occur. With all of this in mind, along with the weight of centuries of history and the responsibility on his shoulders, Ankindi took a deep breath and began to descend into the earthly hell. He lowered himself down by rope, secured on the surface. Initially, everything went smoothly. Right after descending the first 30 meters, Ankindi said, "I saw the entire cave architecture and how it was formed. It was a moment of happiness, and the descent allowed enjoying the magnificence. But then, suddenly, the rope jerked violently, and Ankindi stopped, left dangling in the darkness of the earth. After a while, he realized that his rope wasn't long enough. Then calmly pulled out a walkie-talkie and requested his teammates to set down alone. When the new rope was set down, he continued his journey deeper, without any fear. Finally, Ankindi became the first person in history to set foot at the bottom of the earthly hell. After being pulled up, his body remained intact. The walls did not close. He wasn't attacked by demonic spirits, nor did he vanish into another space. Instead, Ankindi stood at the cave entrance, in normal health, and proud of having written his own history. According to his account, there were many sediments in this beautiful cave, including stalactites and stalagmites, and an astonishing number of stalagmites. From the cave walls were clear waterfalls, far from the horror of earlier stories. Additionally, there were many species of pigeons, toads and lizards. Most notably, a giant swarm of They look very strange, but they won't bother you unless you bother them first, Ankindi joked. Following Ankindi, the remaining members of his group gathered and spent a full 6 hours exploring this entire giant cave. Their photography equipment worked normally, and they could take amazing photos of the caves. That's right. There is a foul smell, but that smell comes from decomposing animals, and they had surfaced. Ankindi even took a sip of water, taken from inside the cave, and declared, "I'm still alive. That's very sweet water, very normal." After returning to the surface, the group collected water samples, rocks, soil, and some dead animals, with the aim of analyzing the chemical composition before publishing a full report on what they found. When they emerged from the cave, the local people waiting on the surface they rushed forward all at once and asked thousands of questions. These bold explorers patiently answered each of their questions, even showing them the photos taken inside it. With courage, determination, and risk, Ankindi dispelled centuries-old myth in just one afternoon. As he said, "What we did here, I think was necessary, because we changed people, and I changed people. I changed people. At least about one of the most mysterious places after nearly so many years. Gate to hell." However, after a long period of waiting, no complete report was received on the samples taken from Ankindi's cave, as promised. And then, Ankindi's team did not disclose any further information. For some people, many questions remain unanswered. For example, why didn't Ankindi and his team find any human remains in a cave? Because there have been many strange disappearances occurring around the cave. If it's explained that they carelessly fell into the cave, then where are their remains? Could it be that there exists a door here, leading to another dimension? If everything is as simple as the team proposed, why haven't they published any reports? Let's clarify these questions with another expedition. Around the 1800s, there was no more famous exploration team than the Mabelbin couple. They were a married couple who undertook many expeditions to remote lands around, including Greece, Turkey, Syria, Akkad, Tunisia, Ethiopia, and Yemen. Their works are considered historically valuable and pioneering. Their works are regarded as historically valuable in excavating and studying ancient monuments. In 1893, they embarked on their most impressive journey, an effort to deeply explore Yemen, which at that time was almost unknown to Europe. During these trips, their goal was to access areas with unique. As written therein. We were truly very worried about whether we could or had to turn back, and whether we could proceed safely. We wanted to travel along Wadi Haramud. Their anxiety was understandable when they had heard all about this separate hell. According to records in his documents, it was a deep pit in the arid desert and a gloomy valley, a black and foul smelling body of water where the souls of infidels dwell. Additionally, when studying the historical, they made a terrifying discovery, which was when they read the documents of Masud, an Arab historian and geographer, who lived in the 10th century. He is considered one of the most important historians in the ancient period of Arab culture. He described this hell as the world's largest, and said that it spews enormous fireballs, accompanied by thunderous sounds, audible from miles away. Indeed, according to naval expedition, they saw signs of volcanic activity when approaching this area, even collecting many lava samples with unusual characteristics. Unfortunately for Ben, the area around the Al-Hut site of Athol was part of the Ottoman Empire. Naturally, this authority held no good towards British explorers like them. They were forced to return home without ever exploring this volcano, said to be so great. Could it be a helmet threatening the world today? According to geological researchers in this, very special features have been found. The area around the Al-Hut site is considered one of the most active tectonic in the world. Yemen lies at the junction of three major tectonic plates of the Earth, including the African tectonic plate, the Arabian tectonic plate, and the Somali tectonic plate. These plates are constantly moving and separating from each other, creating mountain ranges and fissures on the ocean floor. Specifically, Yemen lies on the Arabian, one of the largest and most complex tectonic plates in the world. Therefore, this country frequently experiences many geological activities, including volcanic eruptions and earthquakes that occur regularly. Additionally, it has been determined that there are at least 11 Holocene volcanoes throughout the country. In fact, much of Yemen's coastline is known to have been formed by lava flows. Throughout the region's history, volcanic activity has played a significant from reports of an eruption in the Jannat al-Ar area in the 10th to records indicating that a volcano was still smoking in 1813. Even in modern times, eruptions still occur frequently, including in 2007, when an island off the coast of Yemen was submerged in lava and disappeared, killing some Yemeni soldiers stationed there. In 2011, another eruption off the coast of Yemen lasted nearly a month and created a completely new island on Earth. Could it be that among all this volcanic activity, there exists a dormant supervolcano waiting to awaken one day? Perhaps this is what Muhammad truly wanted to warn us about when he said that Jannat al-Ar has the worst water on Earth. The worst water is a metaphor for a volcanic eruption that could literally destroy the Earth. Perhaps Jannat al-Ar is actually just meaning it could turn the world into a living hell. Thank you for watching the video. See you all in the next videos.